Okay, thank you very much for everyone for attending the Water and Sewer Committee meeting today. It's January the 11th, I believe. I'll call the meeting to order. Just going to do this on my phone here. I have to get a new computer. This one, I lost it. Yeah. Holy freak. Okay, call to order. Approval of agenda.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
I did give a notice of motion for our December meeting,
Yep.
and then it was also presented to council on January 3rd. Am I able to bring that up under the agenda, or where can I bring it up?
Sure. Yeah, wherever you like. We're not too fussy here.
If I could just ask to go before draft capital budget?
Sure, we could move it to 6, yep. 6 AA, we'll put it in there.
Thank you.
Okay. Any declarations of conflict of interest here? No?
None?
Okay. And the adoption of the minutes of Monday, November 20th. Moved by Councilor Ramsey, second by Councilor Matart. And would there be any business arising from those minutes? I have a number here. I just wanted some updates from the manager. I sent some emails in, and I'm just wondering if you have any updates for us today, Richard. I know timeline is tight here. Could you just answer some of the questions that I asked? Is that possible?
Sure. So I believe some of them update on debit machine. I've reviewed it with finance. We're not going to add another debit machine location. We are working on having that process be online and online payment for it, or having part of that process also take place down at the front counter. Staffing update, we currently have an open position out internally. I think that's probably the position you were wondering about at that point. And staff moving into our new building, everybody's moved into the new building.
Okay. Just to back it up there for the staff, that one position, where are we at on that?
So it's out right now, it's an open position, it is posted, and we are accepting applications.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
You'd also asked about an update on Malpec roof.
Yes.
So we have tarped it for the winter. We had one quote, but I feel that I should have more than one quote to actually go forward with the repairs. So we are seeking additional repairs. So right now it's tarped, and we are seeking additional quotes to complete those repairs.
okay. So the fiber op concern and the contract, we'll go to that
Yes,
later.
sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Or, I mean, that can be business arising from the minutes as well. It is in there, but if you want to have it separate, we can.
Is that all right, sir?
Yep, we'll wait for that. And the timeline of cleaning up the Mount Edward Road substation. Where are we at with that? Because I keep getting a call from the lady every week, so.
Oh, okay, yes, thank you. So Public Works has been working at that site. They have been back to it twice now to do removal of materials. I spoke to them again today. They are out doing other work today, but have intentions to returning to that site to continue the cleanup.
Okay. All right, then we'll go on to anybody have questions?
Thank you, Chair. I do have a question regarding the minutes from the previous meeting. Just wondering if it's possible, and I'm not sure if there'd be a conflict, but just in regard to an update on the property, or the water servicing property outside the city for PID 133405. I think the city was going to look to work with the owner regarding possible purchase of that property. Just wondering if those discussions have commenced. I guess we can't get into the details of it, but just wondering if those discussions have commenced and working towards that. And maybe we'll see that in the budget.
Yeah,
I think the chair is in conflict, so he will have to leave, correct? Yeah. So you would take over as chair.
That's one way of getting me out.
Okay, thank you. Richard, if you could address that question, please, thank you.
So we are in discussions with them.
You're in discussions?
Yes, even so, our lawyers are talking to their lawyers.
Okay, so that's commenced. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, could I just follow
Yes.
up on what you
Yeah,
mentioned?
go ahead.
So we do have other well fields that have property issues. And I might be bringing this up under the capital budget, but are you looking at purchasing other properties in the Brackley Point area, Suffolk, Milton Vale, and so forth? Just want to find out, sir.
Yes, looking for opportunities, and it is something we'll continue to look at into the future. I mean, we always have and always will be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Did we finish with the business arising from the minutes? No more questions from that? Okay, we'll go on to reports and discussions. Now we'll listen to the mayor's concern there.
Mr. Chair, I did get hard copies. I apologize. Should have sent them to you by email. This is the notice of motion. And it's good to see that Mr. Mullen has arrived, because I think this is a notice of motion that pertains to his company, UCC. So as you can see, the notice of motion was first issued, Mr. Chair, back in December, but we did not have our meeting. However, it was forwarded to council on January 3rd, and it's back here to get a recommendation. So as you can see, the recommendation, I'm going right to the recommendation, which is the third page, to issue an EOI for the following: a full independent third-party review of the Milton Vale Wellfield Development Phase 3B Communication System Project for the Charlottetown Water and Wastewater Utility. The review will include complete value for money audit of the project which would provide technical review of the project. Update report would include fiber installed, fiber spliced, fiber tested, including testing results, fiber in service, connected to the network, outstanding construction segments, verifications of photos of each vault and demarcation points, financial report, including evaluation of third-party investment, monetize UCC contribution, review of the IRU agreement, recommendations for project IRU agreement completion. And Mr. Chair, this followed from a request I made back I believe it was last April. I sent you an email. I forwarded to all the committee members to get an update from the general contractor, Williams Murphy McLeod, because I believe Williams Murphy McLeod has the bond on this project too. I don't know if that email or letter was ever sent to the WCC, Williams Murphy, WM&M, Williams Murphy McLeod. So as a follow-up, I am asking that we do this, because this is a significant infrastructure project for the city and has a lot of potential for the city and the residents and commercial enterprises here in the city, including our own uses as a city government. So I want to put that on the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Does anybody have any questions, concerns? Anything with that?
I just wanted, just a point of
Sure.
clarification, your chair. So what you're asking for here is this just an independent review of the whole entire project from stem to stern and where it sits today and everything in between? Is that?
Correct.
Is that what I'm asking? Is that what I'm looking for here? And what would the outcome, what would the expected outcome be of this? Like,
We will get answers to what I outlined in the recommendations. And to
then,
get,
okay, to ensure they're fulfilled? So
Yes.
that- Okay, and understanding what our value was in the money that we have expended on this project?
correct.
Okay.
And if I can give a comparison, Councillor Matard, for the Simmons Aqua Arena facility project, we do have a contractor, we do have a architect, DRSA, and project consultant. But as you know, we hired Harborside Engineering to be the project manager, to be the eyes and ears of our project at the Simmons Aqua Arena facility. So this is a follow-up as just to give a overview from a third-party perspective of all these criterion that I outlined.
And would that review be done with Williams, Murphy, McLeod? Or with both Williams and Utility Corridor Corporation? Who would be
UCC,
responsible?
WM&M, our water and wastewater utility, management, and so forth. Yes. So the scope, I think, will be laid out in the EOI.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Ramsden.
Thank you, Chair. Your worship, through the chair, there's not an end date on this either that you requested, is there? Not that maybe I read over it, but that would be the thing that I'd be looking for also to add on to it. Because I believe this project was going on, what, 2.5 years or 4 years or wherever it was?
2019 we started.
Yeah, and like every project, you like to see an end date. And I know there's always issues and problems as you're doing a job, but that's what I'd be looking for too, is an end date. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, just in answer to that, I think when we developed the EOI, expression of interest, we would have put a end date to submitting the report back to this committee that would go on to council.
Okay. All right. Okay, just a point of order from the, Mr. Mullins has motioned to speak. Shall we?
It's up to you, Mr. Chair.
No, I just wanted to make sure, because we don't normally get this, but you can come right up and speak, Mr. Mullins, if you have something you want to say.
I can stand from here. No. You have to use the mic.
I'm not opposed to a review. What I'm opposed to is the fact that the review is going to get done before certain things which are mentioned in the review actually exist. There is no IRU agreement. There is no agreement on how we're going to splice the fiber. We have fiber that's been sitting in the ground for 3 years that we'd like to connect, but the city has to make decisions. And the city can't make decisions until the sharing agreement, this so-called irrevocable right of use agreement, is signed. It's been sitting basically in the same position for the last 2 years. And Jordan Brown, last year before the election, said, wait till after the election, there'll be a new council and we'll attack it again. Nothing has happened. So, we've had delays with, I had a personal health issue, but we had pandemic stuff. We had provincial government permitting issues. But right now, we are sitting here saying, we've got these assets. It's sort of like you put in an 8-lane highway, where are we going to put the driveways? It has to be agreed. And I've put a substantial amount of money, my own money, into this to increase the capacity. And at this point, we're almost ready to be work to rule. We agreed to put 12 strands of fiber out over, I think, 36 kilometers, which is a very big project. And I came along and said, I'm going to pay the extra and I'm going to put in 48 strands so that we can service apartments, so we can provide low-cost access to seniors, so we can, offer competitive services to businesses. And we do not have a legal agreement yet on using those. So to give you an idea, I have sitting in my office over 100 splice boxes. So what we have to do is we take little glass strands, like a strand of hair, and they have to be welded together. We're literally welding glass together, and that determines, this one goes with this one, and that determines the route of where it goes. Now, if we're going down the street and we have a vault where we can connect, say, on Alena Court, there's 17 or 18 apartment buildings there. Right now, I have no ability to say those strands that are in the cable that I put in there are mine to use. I paid for them, I put them there, but I have no legal agreement with the city right now to exploit those. So we're talking about having a review of something that's not done.
I mean, we could sit here for the
Yeah.
next 4 hours, right?
Oh,
Something's
easily.
got to change, whether
Yeah.
it's with the management or you, someone's got to sit down. We can't do that here.
Yeah.
And come to a conclusion today.
Yeah.
So I respectfully ask you to sit with the manager
Sure.
and discuss where the next step is going. That's where we're at. We've been waiting for contracts, we've been waiting for work to be done. It's just so overwhelming for us all, right? We've been in this for 4 or 5 years now, right? So
And in
something's got to
fairness,
break.
yes, in fairness, we sat down with the manager and the IT director, manager last week, discussing, how we can do this. And we're going to give them a diagram of what our suggestions are. But we still can't legally act on it without this agreement. And the agreement was supposed to be signed 3 years ago. And
Okay,
it's been sitting there and grinding and grinding. And I know the mayor wants us to bring in a consultant to look at it, but the issue is the contract's there, right? Everything's been hashed out. All the issues are known. And we need to have some legal certainty because from my standpoint, my contract says deliver 12 strands, so 12 connections along the entire route and 24 from the city depot site to City Hall. We've put more than that capacity in. And if I'm not going to get a contract, I'm going to have to pull out all that fiber and replace it with smaller stuff. And that's where we are right now. Like, there's areas where there's nothing more to do. We're physically connecting 2 more locations. I think the Mount Edward Road station, we have to bore under Mount Edward Road, the pollution control plant. But everywhere else, the conduit's there, the vaults are there. The equipment's been sitting here since last year.
Okay.
We just need a legal basis to proceed.
so the manager, we get this under control here somewhere. Like I said, we're not going to come to a conclusion here. And it's kind of futile to sit here and discuss this, right? We don't have the proper information. It's up to you to sit with Mr. Mullins and maybe somebody from administration and get this back on track.
Yep.
All right.
Mr. Chair, just point of order.
Yep, sure. go
Could I
ahead.
ask what happens with my resolution, my motion? I'd like to put that back to council. Again, I'm not surprised that UCC contractor showed up today. I'm not surprised. I've been trying to work with the manager, work through this committee.
Sure.
And I was with the understanding with the manager that, let's look at this. Let's look at doing a third-party review. Here we are at the 11th hour, again, being pushed back. This EOI would, the IRU is for 25 years. And for a council and for myself as representing the office of mayor, I just don't feel comfortable with everything that took place right from the start. And you've been here from the
Oh,
start.
yes, I understand.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
you've been here.
Yeah.
So I'm just asking the committee that we forward this back to council and, have an open discussion on this EOI. But I think it's very important that we conduct this. And if we have to work in parallel with the lawyer Jordan Brown and the IRU, truthfully, I do not feel comfortable signing an IRU with this situation that we have in front of
Okay.
you. So I'm
thank
just
you.
asking to put this on
Sure.
the floor.
So this is on the floor. We're gonna vote to move it ahead to council for discussion. Because we can't recommend, just to discuss it here. So it's gotta go up to council. Go ahead, Councilor Ramsey. I think he had his
Yeah.
mic on.
Sorry,
before.
Justin.
Justin, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, before it goes back to council, or the time period between it's going from here to council, I think that will give Mr. Mullins and our manager and maybe our CIO or something, a chance to sit down, and even with Jordan Brown, and get everything, more information, I guess, is what I'm looking for, and, make sure that everything's, the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilor Madrid.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, Mr. Mullins, your opening statement was you're not opposed to having a third-party independent review. So I think based on those comments alone, but however, you did indicate that there were some components here that might not be applicable for that review. So I think they might just be taken out of scope then if deemed necessary. So if we're talking about spliced and it's not in scope, then, we can weed through that. But I do think that, in fairness to you and to, I'm new, I've only been here a year, but I've been a part of this profile since then, and I do think there is some merit in moving forward with the motion for a review. So I would support the motion going forward.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, so do you need a mover and a seconder?
sure. Yeah.
Can I, are you moving it? Thank you. Yeah, no, don't, we have to put,
No, go ahead. You're gonna move it? You're gonna second it, Mayor Brown?
Yep.
Okay,
question. I'd like to call the question.
okay. Call the question. We're just, this is just a recommendation, right?
That's
Put
right.
Up to council. That's what it is here. Right. So you can have a motion to move it, seconder. Okay, great.
In favor.
In favor? Great.
Okay.
Okay, did you want to talk any more about it, Mr. Brown? Like,
Mischaracterize my potential support here. Yeah, I don't want to mischaracterize my support here for this, in that if you decide to go to a review before we are done, then we're looking at something goes out for an RFP, you get results, you have to do it. Probably it's going to take 90 days. And that means I'm not going to be able to do any work for 90 days because I will not have my IRU. I will not be able to splice. I will not be able to finish this project. We'd like to be done. We were out this morning working on, where we're going to drill across Mount Edward Road. When the fiber goes in, it's got to be spliced. And this is just more delay, which we don't need.
with all due respect, Mr. Mullen, this has been going on 5 years. I think you sat here 2 years ago and
Yes.
told me you'd have it done by the end of November. So I myself and the committee that we were here then and now have given so much leeway to just, I know there's a realm of timelines missed, of concerns. It's not all your fault. It's, you know what? But at the end of the day, it's 5 years. And for us to go out for a review, I don't see how that's going to delay the end. I mean, there must be a way that somebody can keep you working, keep you moving ahead, but at the same time, we have to protect the interests of the city as well, right? So we have to get this review done. When, like, nobody knows, when is it going to be done? I've heard 95% done for the longest time, right? And we don't seem to be getting any closer.
Well, because literally I'm not allowed to proceed, right? From a legal standpoint, from my lawyer's advice, my best move right now is to pull out all the high-capacity cable, to pull out the 80 extra volts that I installed, and give the city exactly what they bought and nothing more, which means there'll be no IRU because there'll be nothing to share, right? We put in over 100 volts. They're expensive. We didn't have to put in that many. We put that in to make this a future-proof, easily expandable system. We put in 72 strands between City Hall and the depot. That's 3 times the capacity.
With all due respect, I certainly sit here as a representative saying I appreciate that, but we can't do anything right here. It's up to the manager to sit down with you and maybe administration and, hash this out.
Sure, but if this review is going to decide whether or not to sign an IRU, but the review is going to decide if the IRU was a good IRU as executed, it's not executed. We've been waiting for that, like, quite literally, for most of the city. I
Mr. Chair,
can't proceed.
Just a point of order, sir. Just, again, Mr. McEwen, do you have the resolution there? Do you have it? So it says right under here, the recommendation, resolution. Mr. Chair, first of all, you and I have been at this table for 4 years. And how many times have we been pushed to, oh no, it's near done, it's near done. The last recommendation, it says recommendations for project IRU agreement completion. So if UCC is doing everything they've told us they've done today, and he's been telling us, then let's wait to see let's see a review, and as I refer to it as a full independent third-party review. Let's do that. And by the way, Mr. Chair, we've already voted on the resolution. We have a lot on the.
I know. So let's.
But the issue is,
With
the
all due
contract
respect,
specifically.
with all due respect, we've passed this, we're moving on. And I'm just telling the manager, I'm not telling the manager, like, I'm asking, sit down and get this stuff back on track, whatever it needs to do. And thank you for Mr. Mullen coming in, I appreciate it. I'm sorry to cut you off. We could spend 5 hours sitting here, probably. I appreciate you coming in, thank you. We have to move on. Okay, going back to the agenda. Where are we at? Draft capital budget.
Perfect, thank you. So this has been forwarded around to the group. I guess we could go through kind of line by line, or how everybody would like to proceed. It's very similar in scope to previous years, just obviously projects and values do change. So the first is University Avenue Phase 1. So this is primarily prep for Phase 2. That's with the Public Works project, the revitalization of University Avenue. And that's $300,000. The next line item we have is the Water Street reconstruction in partnership with Public Works, $1 million. We have carryover for the Mount Edward Road Booster Station at $600,000.
Just for clarification, red, blue, black, carryover.
Correct. So with Eastern Gateway Water and Sewer Rehabilitation, for this year, the new amount is $500,000, and there's a carryover from last year of 1.5. We have motor vehicles that, for the work side at $240,000 total. So that's 120 this year and 120 carryover. We have tangible capital purchases, so that's new miscellaneous equipment at $247,500. And then Seaview reconstruction in conjunction with Public Works, we have at 1.5 million. We have a carryover amount of 100,000 for Passmore Street, and that's just for project closeout.
Can I ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sorry
Councilor
about that. Going back to Seaview reconstruction here, we said it's 100,000 for utilities? Is that correct? Was that, because we budgeted for that this past year and last year's budget, did we not? So is that a carryover or?
For Seaview, we
Yes.
we do have a carryover amount, and that's for 875,000. And this year's budget towards that is 625 for a total of 1.5 million.
So that's the total, like that's with Public Works and everything included?
No, that's for the
That's
utility.
just utilities?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
This year, we have $1 million allotted for wellfield protection. So that's 400,000 from this year and 600,000 carryover.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Councilor Mattar.
Thank you. To the chair, with the wellfield protection, is that line item in line with what I spoke to earlier regarding potential for purchasing land in and around our numerous well fields that we have? And if so, we're looking at $1 million. Should we be looking to, Mr. Chair, increase that value based on the potential of that exercise in and around our well field protection lands?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about particular well fields, but we do have 4, right? What? No, I have no idea, but we do have 4 of them, right? So is that gonna have to be increased? Are we gonna go down that road? What's the committee's?
Well, I think it was based on the discussion and we didn't have enough money to purchase that stuff. So
Yes.
that's why I'm suggesting, do we allot for money for when these circumstances arise, or the opportunities maybe more so than anything arise, that we have available funding to possibly do that? Just a suggestion.
It's
to
a
the
good
committee,
suggestion,
but-
Councillor Matart. And, what is the committee's thoughts on that? Go ahead, Councillor Ramsey.
Thank you. Maybe through you to the manager, are we going to be looking at each well field as it sort of comes up? Or just, we have 4, as the chair says, so are we sort of looking at purchasing that land all at once? Or let's say this year we do one, and then we budget next year for the next one? Yeah, or if they're available.
Yeah, I think a longer-term plan, like you budget and you try to acquire some each year, is probably how we should look at it.
Mr. Chair, so
Go ahead.
he has it at 1 million. Do you have the budget there? He has it at 1 million for this year. So if we were to do, let's say, just a market valuation for Brackley Point Road, I think that was purchased for about 850 plus. Yeah, I'm not asking you, but, so is $1 million enough? And I think that's what Councillor Matart was addressing. Am I correct in saying that?
Addressing one particular
No,
thing.
but just in
saying,
general.
Based on the conversations we had in council regarding that particular thing, it was identified that there's a desire to purchase land and protect our water
Yeah.
wells on the 4 areas. So in doing so, that's a proactive step for us to work towards that, which is what I think the consensus is what people want to do. So therefore, now we have an opportunity to look at our budget for that, and is $1 million sufficient to start that process? It may be more than enough. I have no idea. Don't know the market value of what we can and can't do and can't purchase. Just this is our opportunity to address that if we're improving the capital budget. So I just wanted to put it out there to the
Just in
chair.
response, Mr. Chair, I know the property that's out in Brackley Point Road will be more than $1 million. I think we should double this to $2 million. Because we do have the Suffolk well field that has large pockets of parcels of property that are around it. We do have the Union Road, Brackley are the same. We do have the well field out in Milton, and the 4th one I'm forgetting, which one is, that's the Winter River well field?
There's Brackley, Union, and Suffolk along the Winter River, and then we have Milton Hill.
Yeah.
So we have 4 total.
I would just recommend, just for discussion, Mr. Chair, instead of 1 million, it should be 2 million, because we're looking to purchase land.
Sure. What do you both?
I support that increase based on the merits of the discussions that we had and as an entirety of the desire by water and sewer to protect our water wells and purchase land in around there.
Sure.
That's the reason for this bringing forward.
Councillor Ramsey?
Yes, and the only comment I have is that, is there something else, if we increase that by 1 million, is there going to be, that 1 million going to be taken away for something else? And that's the only thing. It's going to be a tight budget this year, as we all know, because we need other things in other departments. And, it's just, as long as it's not going to hurt something else that's very important, I guess is what I'm saying, I'm all in favor of it, because we're far better off having the money budget this year, and then if we have an opportunity, we can purchase it.
Yeah.
But I just wondering if there's something else got to be cut.
This will be a draft budget, and we'll just look closer at it. If there's somewhere we can expand or cut or I mean, obviously, every time you put something in, something's got to go, right? So, So we'll put it in if it's a recommendation from the
Further to
committee?
that, Mr. Chair, I agree, like, I would like to balance that against the other
Yes.
priorities
Yes.
of our capital budget to ensure it aligns with our priorities. And, if that becomes our main priority, then we address it. If there are other infrastructure upgrades that will not be completed as a
Exactly.
result of that, I think we need to weigh that against that.
That's right.
So I support it as a draft recommendation to go forward. Where it comes out at the other end through the management and administration will be addressed that way. So,
Perfect.
okay.
Perfect, great idea. Thank you.
I'd just add one piece to the discussion. So if we did find that we had land that was available and became available for us to purchase this year, maybe the following year, we wouldn't make purchases because we did purchase it this year, just to try and help the long-term planning with that budget. I mean, these are capital budget expenditures, and just that might help with that decision-making. So we have 2 million there. If we spend it this year, then maybe we don't spend 1 million next year on that type of thing.
Yeah? Budget time, that's great. Thank
And
you.
just one final point, Mr. Chair. I know you're being very patient with us. Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
you'll know, no, this is my second question. Mr. Chair, actually, I sit next to the guy that's always pointing that out. Mr. Chair, the reason I'm suggesting the additional 1 million, because you know what? By the end of this fiscal year, Josh and our manager will tell us that we won't spend the 100% of that capital budget. We never do. So it's usually about 50% that we present, maybe at the max 60. So it's not like that we're going to spend that 2 million right away, but at least it's there to show that we are serious about protecting our well fields. Thank you, sir.
Oh, that's great. Perfect. Good point.
Yes, the next one's a Malpex Station refurbishment. This year we have allotted 250,000. Next one is capital planning engineering. We've allotted 340,000. For metering, we've allotted 395,500.
Sorry, Josh, may I just interrupt? And I sort of missed it earlier. The first column on the left, is that the carryover from last year? Yes, okay, right? Yeah, thanks, Josh.
Perfect. No, no problem. Next one is collector sewer lift station rehabilitation. This year we have 1.72 million. And then we have pollution control plant upgrades, resiliency improvements. This year we have allotted 480,000. So sewer lift stations is the next one on the wastewater side. We have allotted 950,000. Aeration tank rehabilitation, we've allotted 625,000. Polymer and dewatering upgrades, 400,000. Waste gas burner replacement, that's a line item for a future project. So we're looking at 2025 and beyond. So there's not a number currently there. Next one is kind of a catch-all for capital projects. That's 790,000. The primary digester roof rehabilitation at 1 million. Control system upgrades, 380,000. Motor vehicles, 85,000.
That's twice we have motor vehicles, correct?
Correct. So that would be for the work side and then for the wastewater side.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be McAleer and then Riverside.
Okay.
2 different units.
Yeah, thank you.
And then that has a, I guess, a total budget of just over 15,898,000. And then with the applicable funding, the net cost is about $10 million for that budget.
Mr. Chair, question to the chair.
Go ahead.
Just regarding CCBF funding and ICIP funding, from my understanding, is that funding at your discretion to use in certain areas, or is that tied to certain aspects, like I see CCBF a lot in water, and then ICIP in wastewater. So are those tied to certain projects? They have to be related?
So the ICIP funding was a federal provincial capital project funding that was project specific, and the CCBF funding is funding that the city and the utility receives, formerly the gas tax money that comes to the city, and most of that money we're using jointly between Public Works and the water and sewer utility to do road upgrades.
So it is your discretion to use that in any one of these line items where you see fit for a particular project? Is that how I'm reading that, or?
Yeah,
I'm just
so-
wondering how you pick why Seaview Construction gets funding, but Malpeque Station reimbursement doesn't.
That's right. So there's still criteria that comes from the federal and provincial government where we can use that funding. And we also put that funding plan back to the infrastructure
So you're-
secretariat.
You're justified. Okay, thank you. I'm just for a point of clarity, thank you.
Mr. Chair, so looking at the gas tax or the CCPF, BF funding, the utility's asking for 3.9 million? Josh? Is that what it's saying? I'm just trying to get or Richard?
That's correct.
So the gas tax funding, I think it's 3.2 or 3.4 million that we receive a year, and I think there's been accumulation over the years. So what does that take from the pot for the gas tax?
So there's some carryover from last year where it had already been allocated to the utility, and then the combined projects with Public Works is what we're working at through the future to capture those funds.
So do we know what's in the fund, the CCB?
Need to review it, and we are doing that review at this time.
Okay. So we don't know if we have 3.9 million, it's just that we're projecting.
Yes, there's an allocation for the utility, and then working through when we do the whole streets between Public Works and the utility, how much of that we can use.
And Mr. Chair, if I take a comparison, this year, 10,112,000 last year, after minus an external funding and external funding from previous budgets, we were at 5.1 million. So is that correct, Josh? We're almost 100% more from last year? Am I reading that wrong? If you look at last year's budget, which is currently, we're in the last quarter right now. No, it's, I got the budget book here from 23, 24. No, when you subtract total water and sewer net of external funding, about 7 million, total water, sewer net of external funding from previous budgets, 1.8, and you subtract that and you have 5 million. So am I right in saying that? I think that's why it's a good practice to do this, both budgets, because one has to finance the other. No.
They don't have the budget book with
Here.
them, so you can't. Because it would have been split between them and Public Works, right?
Right, but this is their budget alone, capital budget.
Oh,
And the reason I bring that up, Mr. Chair, because some, City of Toronto just passed their $17 billion budget, and they're raising property taxes, I think, by 10.5%. But if you read between the lines, there's some money going here, money going there. But their water and wastewater is going up by 3%. And I think in our resolution, in what we did previous years, is that we took the inflationary rate, but we didn't adopt it last year. So I think that, if we're looking at increasing our capital budget, I think we'll be increasing our operational budget too.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and there's less funding available to us currently. We're waiting for funding programs to come out. But the budget that we've presented for you is really bare bones and working with Public Works to do our whole street reconstruction, and hoping that sometime in the future there is funding programs for us to address the infrastructure deficit that we talked about during our budget preparations.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Brown. We didn't discuss raising any rates yet, so.
No, sir. No, just
We'll
raise that
discuss
balloon for you.
later. Thank you for that tip, though. Any other questions?
Just a quick one, sorry. Where is it at here? Hurley Street, a rehabilitation. Is that your ward, Bob? No. Mr. Chair, sorry. I thought that street was done.
It is done. It's there as an account number. There's no money attributed to it in this year's budget. It should be finished this year. We'll have some final payments, the holdbacks, but they should be taken care of before the end of this fiscal year.
And that's the same with Passmore and a lot of them? Or
Correct.
no? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are you finished there, Josh? Okay, perfect. Any more questions, Mayor? No? So we'll move on to the B, before he gets back to his seat. Purchase of a quarter-ton double cab truck there. You want to take that? Manager McEwen.
Sure, yes. So we put a tender out for vehicle purchase, and we received 4 bids, and we are recommending that we go with the lowest bid by Fair Isle Ford.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns, anybody? Want to move by Mayor Brown, second by Councilor Ramsey. Great, and now we'll go to purchase of chemicals for Charlottetown Pollution Control Plant.
Yes, so again, we put out a tender for the chemicals that we use at the pollution control plant, and the recommendation is to go with the low response from S&F Canada, and they are our current supplier.
Oh, we'll let Councilor Matart move it, yeah. Oh, he's got a vote. Councilor Matart will move it, second by Councilor Ramsey. He's already moved things. All right, so we don't have anything, introduction to new business? Everything's good? Motion to adjourn by Mayor Brown. Thank you very much. Come on now. I don't have anything to do today, nothing at all. I'm way behind.
Until you get home.
No, no, there's a bunch of stuff I went to open a place where